By the time I realized what was sizzling on the little grill beside me, she had already taken more than hair. The woman waxing my eyebrows kept telling me to keep my eyes closed. The wax was hotter than usual. The strips hurt more than they should have, but I didn't want to complain. I figured she was just rougher than the woman who normally did them. Then I smelled meat cooking. Not from outside, somewhere right beside me, and I heard something wet hit a hot grill. But I should probably explain how I ended up there. Normally, I went to the same little salon on weekend mornings. Same place, same woman, same routine. Laura had been doing my eyebrows for almost 2 years. She knew exactly how I liked them shaped, and I usually had her wax my upper lip while I was there. 15 minutes, maybe 20 if we got talking. But that Saturday, I completely forgot. It was already after 7 when I remembered, and I had plans the next day, so I figured I'd miss my chance. Then I drove past the salon. The lights were still on, and the little sign in the window still said open. I'd never been there this late before, but I figured maybe they'd changed their weekend hours, so I parked. The little bell above the door chimed when I walked in. The woman behind the counter wasn't Laura. I'd never seen her before. She looked older than me, maybe late 40s or early 50s. Her dark hair was pulled tightly away from her face, and she wore the same kind of pale salon smock Laura usually wore. She didn't greet me. She just looked at me. I gave her a small smile. "Hi, are you taking walk-ins?" The woman looked at my face. "Brows?" she asked. "And upper lip if you have the time," I said. She stared at me for another second, then nodded. I stepped farther inside. Behind me, the woman walked to the door. I heard the deadbolt click. Then she flipped the sign from open to closed. I looked back at her, but that made sense. I was probably her last customer. "Is Laura here?" I asked. The woman turned away from the door. "She's gone," she said. I assumed she meant Laura had already gone home for the day. The salon looked exactly the way it always did. Same white counter, same row of nail polish along the wall, same little shelf of lotions and cleansers. Even the faint smell of wax and disinfectant was familiar. The woman pointed toward the waxing chair, so I sat down. She lowered me back and tucked a towel beneath my head. Usually Laura talked the entire time. This woman said nothing. I tried making conversation anyway. "Have you been working here long?" I asked. The woman dipped a wooden stick into the wax. "No," she said. That was all I got. I closed my eyes when she leaned over me. The wax touched the skin beneath my right eyebrow. It was hot, much hotter than I was used to. I flinched, and the woman stopped. "Too hot?" she asked. "A little," I said. She waited a few seconds before pressing the strip down. Then she pulled. I gasped. It hurt. Not the quick sting I was used to. This felt sharper and deeper, like the strip had caught more than just hair. My eyes immediately watered. The woman pressed something cool against my skin. "Sensitive," she said. "I guess so." She moved to my other eyebrow. A few seconds later, I heard a faint metallic clink somewhere beside the chair. I opened my eyes. The woman immediately touched 2 fingers to my forehead. "Close your eyes," she said. I did. Another strip went down, then another sharp pull. This one made my whole face tense, and even after the strip came away, the pain stayed. The skin above my eyebrow felt hot and raw. For the first time, I thought about telling her to stop. But then I felt ridiculous. Waxing hurt. Maybe she was just rough. Maybe Laura was better at it because she knew my skin. So I stayed still. Then I felt something wet sliding toward my temple. I lifted my hand to touch it, but the woman caught my wrist. "Don't," she said. Her grip surprised me. It wasn't painful, but it was much firmer than it needed to be. "Am I bleeding?" I asked. She let go of my wrist and dabbed at my skin. "Tiny bit," she said. I frowned. I'd bled a little from waxing before. It happened. Still, I decided I'd let her finish my eyebrows, skip the upper lip, and leave. Actually, I think I'll skip. Warm wax touched the skin above my mouth before I could finish. I went still. The woman pressed the strip down. Then she pulled. Tears sprang into my eyes. She pressed something cool against my upper lip. A second later, I tasted metal. Blood. "Okay," I said. "That one really hurt." The woman didn't answer. That was when I smelled it again. Something smoky and savory. At first, I thought it was coming from outside. Then I breathed in again. Meat. Definitely meat. It smelled like meat searing over charcoal. Almost sweet around the edges. Like yakiniku. My stomach actually growled. I hadn't eaten since lunch. I gave a nervous little laugh. The woman stopped moving. The salon went completely quiet. Then I heard it. Right beside me. Something wet had just hit a hot grill. I opened my eyes. The woman immediately leaned over me. "Close your eyes," she said. I stared at her. She folded a small towel and laid it across my eyes. I immediately reached up to remove it, but her hand closed around my wrist again. I pulled my hand free. Now I wanted to leave. I still hadn't registered that I was in danger. Not yet. I just wanted to pay, go home, wash my face, and never let this woman touch me again. I started to sit up. Then I felt another strip being pressed above my lip, and she pulled. Pain tore across my face. I screamed. My hands flew to my mouth, and this time the woman wasn't fast enough to stop me. My fingertips touched something wet. When I pulled my hand away, there was blood on my fingers. Everything was blurry for a second. Then my vision cleared. The woman was standing beside me. In one hand, she held a pair of tweezers, and between the tips of those tweezers was something small. Pink. Wet. I stared at it. My mind tried to make it into something else. Wax. Tissue. Anything. Then the woman turned away from me. That was when I saw the grill. A tiny tabletop charcoal grill sat on a metal cart beside the waxing supplies. It was barely bigger than a dinner plate. One small piece of meat was already cooking over the heat. Its edges curled and browned. The woman lowered the tweezers toward the grill. The little pink piece touched the grate. Psst. The smell filled the room. That same delicious smell. My stomach turned. Beside the grill sat a little ceramic plate with a few tiny cooked pieces on it. They were browned around the edges and glossy from the heat. None of them was bigger than the end of my little finger. Then I looked at the waxing tray. There were used strips, cotton pads, and wooden sticks. And on one of those used strips, something pink and wet clung where the hair should have been. My hand went to my eyebrows. My fingertips found a smooth, raw groove above it. A narrow strip was missing. Not hair, skin. I don't even know what kind. The woman looked at me. Then, without breaking eye contact, she set down the tweezers and picked up a pair of chopsticks. She lifted one of the cooked pieces from the plate, put it in her mouth, and ate it. I couldn't move. She chewed slowly, her eyes never leaving mine. Then she swallowed. Very tender, the woman said. I tried to get out of the chair. Her hand came down hard on my shoulder. Wait, she said. I shoved her. The chair rocked sideways and the metal cart rattled. The woman grabbed my arm. I kicked the cart as hard as I could. The grill lurched sideways, scattering ash across the metal tray. The woman turned toward it, and her grip loosened just enough for me to yank my arm free. I ran for the front door, grabbed the handle, and pulled. It didn't move. She had locked it behind me. I reached for the deadbolt, but my hands were shaking so badly my fingers kept slipping. Behind me, the woman spoke in the same calm voice. I haven't finished your left side. I tried the deadbolt again. My fingers slipped off it. Then something behind the reception counter caught my eye. Laura's purse. I recognized the little charm hanging from the zipper. She always had it with her. Her phone was lying on the floor beside it. The screen was cracked and something dark had dried along one edge. I slowly turned toward the woman. She was still standing near the waxing chair. Where's Laura? I asked. The woman said nothing. Where is she? Still nothing. Then the woman looked toward the back of the salon. I followed her eyes. A narrow hallway led past the bathroom and storage room towards the employee area. I'd seen Laura disappear down that hallway 100 times. The door at the very end was closed. Something dark had seeped underneath it and formed a thin line across the pale tile. I looked at Laura's purse, then at the closed door, then back at the woman. She's gone. That was what the woman had said when I walked in. Not that Laura had gone home. Not that she was off today. She's gone. I turned back toward the front door. This time I managed to get my fingers around the deadbolt. I had barely started turning it when the woman spoke behind me. Your left eyebrow is uneven. For some reason I stopped. Maybe it was because the sentence was so ridiculous, or maybe some stupid part of my brain was still trying to understand how I had walked into my normal salon and ended up here. Then I saw my reflection in the glass. My face was pale. One eyebrow was perfectly shaped. The other was only half finished. Blood shone above my upper lip. But there was something else wrong with the reflection. The woman wasn't in it. I stared at the glass. I could see the salon behind me perfectly. The waxing chair, the counter, the little grill still smoking on its cart, but no woman. I spun around. A second ago, she had been standing beside the waxing chair. Now she was less than a meter behind me. I hadn't heard a single footstep. In one hand, she was holding the wooden waxing applicator. Fresh wax glistened at the end. I looked back at the glass door. She still wasn't there. When I faced her again, she smiled. It was the first real smile I had seen from her all night. Her teeth were very small, and there were far too many of them. I backed against the door. The woman stepped closer. She raised one hand toward my face and gently wiped the blood from above my lip with her thumb. Then she looked at the red smear on her skin and licked it clean. The woman slowly raised the waxing applicator toward my face. In the same quiet, professional voice she used all evening, she said, "Please close your eyes." The stick moved closer. "I'm almost finished."